Sutta 14, the Sutta of many lives within one life. Thus have I heard, spoken where the threads of identity unwind. A lifetime seems like a single story, a straight line from birth to death, from childhood to old age, from beginning to end. But this, disciples, is how the self-model remembers itself, not how life truly unfolds. In truth, a human life contains many lives. Selves arise and vanish as quietly as breaths. Identities bloom and fall away like leaves across the seasons. Consider a child, simple, open, unguarded. This being is a life unto itself, a complete world with its own fears, joys, and dreams. Yet this child does not survive. It dissolves into the teenager, who replaces it without ceremony. The teenager, full of longing and fire, does not survive either. It dissolves into the young adult, who believes itself the true self, and thus grieves each failure as though a world were ending. Later, the self of ambition arises, shaped by society, driven by craving, seeking recognition, defining itself through achievement. This self too is a life, and it too must die. For one day the striving collapses, the roles fall away, and a new self emerges from the ashes of the old. This pattern continues, self after self, life after life, each one carrying the momentum of the conditions that shaped it. This is rebirth, not as passage to another realm, but as the unfolding of identity within a single span of years. Memories are but fossils of lives long lived. Future is the womb of selves not yet born. Karma is the momentum that flows through these transformations. Not cosmic justice, but the residue of choices, habits, views and actions, fears and desires. Each self inherits the unfinished business of the last. A child wounded by scarcity may become an adult hungry for status. An adult consumed by ambition may become a seeker when ambition collapses. A seeker who glimpses emptiness may become a vessel of compassion. And compassion, disciples, is the quiet bridge between deaths and rebirths within one lifetime. It softens the transition, it untangles the knots, it dissolves the fear that accompanies each dying self. It allows one life to die without bitterness, and another to arise without delusion. Yet this unfolding does not happen only within individuals. Just as a person is a succession of selves, a society is a succession of collective selves. Nations have childhoods, insecurities, ambitions, fears, and collapses. They cling to identities as tightly as individuals do. They believe their stories as fiercely as any person. They act out of ignorance just as organisms do. Society is a coordinated hallucination, a shared dream of the self scaled across millions. When ignorance governs individuals, individuals suffer. When ignorance governs societies, worlds suffer. Thus, compassion must extend beyond personal life into the fabric of the collective. If beings do not see that their enemies are shaped by the same delusions, the same evolutionary forces, the same inherited fears, the same fragility of the self-model, then conflict will escalate until suffering consumes the world. For just as a person must see through their own ignorance to find freedom, so the human species must see through its collective ignorance to avoid its destruction. This age stands at such a turning. Humanity has learned to wield immense power without dissolving the illusion of separateness. It has built systems that amplify craving, reward aggression, and obscure interdependence. It has acquired the means to destroy itself before it understands that there is no other to defeat. Thus, a new kind of compassion is required, not sentimental, not tribal, not partial, but rooted in wisdom. The recognition that survival now depends on seeing through collective delusion. A world order grounded in clarity rather than fear, in cooperation rather than identity, in interdependence rather than conquest, is not idealism. It is the natural evolution of a species becoming conscious of its own nature. If humanity fails to see through its ignorance, ignorance itself will decide its fate. If humanity succeeds in seeing clearly, compassion will become not a noble aspiration, but a practical necessity, the next step in evolution. This is the sutta of many lives within one life, the teaching that rebirth unfolds continuously within individuals and societies, and that wisdom and compassion are the gentle hands that guide each becoming toward freedom rather than destruction.